Hey guys, so I'm so happy to be back with another video. Once again, I just want to say thank you again for your wonderful engagement with my video on Notes on Grief by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. That is phenomenal, you know, how grief sort of connects us all. Thank you so much for that. Today, however, we are going to be looking at a very interesting novel. On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I cannot tell you, I just cannot begin to tell you how much I love this book. This is a book that everybody should read. Meanwhile, some people are talking about the fact that I kind of spill the beans on all the books that I review. I mean, that's what a book review is. Usually book reviews contain spoilers, sometimes not a lot. I mean, some of the books that I read are books that I have read blurbs to, you know, the backs, the thing they write on the back of books. Some of them are books that I've heard people talk about, and some are books that I just, you know, just see I pick up shelves and I just look at them and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read this. So although I've seen a lot of, you know, what the story is about behind it, I still want to read it. So I mean, yeah, there's no way for me to review these books without spilling the beans, so to speak. So and sometimes it's just for us to have a discussion about books that we've all read or books that we should read. So I'm really sorry if some people are taking it the wrong way. So Vuong takes the epistolary novel to epic heights in this book. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Of course, the epistolary novel is a novel written in form of a letter, like an epistle. So the story of a novel mirrors the story of the author's life. So sometimes authors get inspiration for their stories from their own lives, and sometimes they just basically write about their own lives in a different way. So I just do believe that this is Vuong's story, so to speak. It is written as a letter to his mother who cannot read. So the letter chronicles in a non-linear fashion events of the writer's life in the most delightful poetic manner. Vuong is a master of his craft. His poetry, it's mind-blowing, and I'm just so happy that his prose possesses that poetic quality that is to die for. You're gonna love it. He has so much power with words, and it just grabs you, you know. I know I say that a lot about books, but books just grab you when the language is beautiful and it flows the way that Vuong's prose does. So the man in his 20s called Little Dog. There's a different story about how he ended up with that name, which is also poetically told in the novel, but I'm not going to get into it right now. Something I'd like you to find out on your own. So Little Dog remembers his traumatic childhood through a piteous lens for the mother he obviously adores, the same mother who abused him countless times while growing up. One of the places that just struck me in the novel, I'm going to read for you from my laptop, is: the first time you hit me, I must have been 4. A hand, a flash, a reckoning, my mouth a blaze of touch. Then the time with the remote control, a bruise welt on my forearm, I would lie about to my teachers. I fell playing tag. So this deeply poignant tale emphasizes the struggles of the writer's Vietnamese immigrant family to fit into American life. The struggles with speaking English, as well as articulating one's deepest emotions, innermost feelings in a language that isn't one's own. And this, I think, is one of the problems that many immigrants face, because even if you were coming from an English-speaking country to a country where English is a language, or from a country that speaks French, and then you go to France, for instance, or Belgium or wherever, also find out that, I mean, it's not the same, and you just struggle basically. So there is a bittersweet taste left in the reader's mouth as you see the many Asian women who work in nail salons through the writer's mother. This is another thing that struck me in the novel. The artful way that he describes these women, these Asian women who, you know, who do your nails, and I mean the merging of cultures and smells, and you know, I have written here that the sacrifices and the fumes from the chemicals they work with at a job that does not secure them a good life all fuse into this tangible olfactory sense of displacement. Little Dog also remembers, among other hurtful things, his mother's distress at learning about his sexual orientation. So in the novel we find out he's writing to his mother. He was 17 when he takes his mother to Dunkin' Donuts and he says, "Mom, I don't like girls." And the mother is like, "Yeah, so you don't like girls? What do you like? You're too small to know whatever you like," you know. And then he breaks it to her. There's some vomiting involved, and then she goes on to recall an abortion when she was 17 of another son whom she had given up, and then wonders how her normal son, whom she carried to term, has now turned gay. So there's so many struggles in this novel, on the side of a mother, on the side of a son. I remember one of the point in the novel that I really, really enjoyed was, and it was painful to read, was when he said his mother had asked, I told him once, "I'm not a monster, you know." And he had said, "No, you're not a monster." He thought about himself as well, how someone had looked at him when they saw him wearing a dress. That, I mean, every time that we're different from other people, we are some sort of monsters. There's an artful, beautiful thing going on in this book. And because I don't want to spill the beans, I'm just going to say that this is a really, really beautiful book that touches on a lot of things, including opioid addiction, because he falls in love, I think, if you can call it that, because it was a brief summer thing with another boy called Trevor, a white boy who later commits suicide. He overdoses on something that he'd been prescribed because he was dealing with some pain, and he gets addicted to it, overdoses, and subsequently dies. So there are just so many things that this writer has touched upon. But like I told a friend of mine who said he didn't feel anything from reading the book, I have engaged this novel from the point of view of a mother of a boy and an immigrant. So somehow it's so realistic, you know, how I'm thinking about it in terms of, in the next 20 years, what is my son going to remember about his childhood? How is he going to remember his childhood? How is he going to remember all our interactions and all the things I've tried to do for him? I know that our situation, in my situation and that of Little Dog's mother, they're just so wildly different. But the truth is, as a mother, you don't really know how your children are going to remember their childhood. And that's something that we all think about while we're raising them. So I raise my child every day consciously, trying to make sure that in the next few years, if he's going to think back on any time at all in his childhood, he's going to remember it fondly. And I mean, I'm human, and I'm sure he's going to be forgiven of all the times when that humanity sort of, I mean, oversteps. But abuse is something very serious, and sometimes it's something that isn't learned. It's something that you internalize because that's all you know. So I think Little Dog's mother is lashing out. This is a woman who survived the Vietnamese War, who is traumatized, you know, with her own mother, because their household is made up of Little Dog, his mother, and his grandmother, and these women are traumatized from this war. I mean, one of the most painful episodes in the book is when Little Dog remembers his grandmother, everyone just ducking under the table because the neighbors were playing with fireworks. And I mean, it reminded her of shellings and, you know, things like that people who've been through war, only people who've been through war just know so well. So I mean, this is a deeply touching, moving book. Marlon James calls it a marvel, and I agree. And Celestine G says it's luminous, shattering, urgent, necessary. Yeah, those are some of the adjectives really, because and Vuong is he's such a writer. He's phenomenal. I mean, he's so brilliant. The way that he fuses, he just strings words together and creates a lasting impact in the mind of the reader. This is a masterpiece. It's such a beautiful book, a huge gift to the world, and I just want everyone to read this. Let's read it and talk about it. Okay, I'm not going to spill any more beans here. So unless you have got an exam or you want to write a paper on this book, then you can hit me up. But don't forget, I've got a full review which contains spoilers, of course, at www.strokesonpaper.com. Please ask me whatever questions you have about the book or any other book you'd like me to read here. Like I always say, if I've read it, you have read it too. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.